Welcome everyone to Politically High Tech with your host Elias. We're gonna start another war. Don't worry, it's not a literal war. Don't that no bombs and guns and all that's included. We have another internal war. It's against negativity and depression. This one is different because this one is necessary at times. Not every single time, but like certain tragic events like a death. Grief is necessary to process through. Shoving it aside, not a good idea. Overfeeding it, not great either. I have a guest here, and you know how tribalistic it is in America, how crazy the world has gotten. We definitely need more emotional wisdom. I could use some of that myself. We need more emotional wisdom. I just think adults today just don't know how to handle difficult emotions. We try to act too tough, or like nothing bothers us, or some people just overreact, over exaggerate, or just linger with that emotion for so long. Either of it just seems crazy. So I am happy to have more people who are gonna tackle this. And trust me, I'm just because I'm a host, it doesn't make me better. I'm a learner as well. Okay. So I don't want to make this monologue too long because I want to get straight to the good stuff. Okay. So let's welcome Denise Dielwart. Okay. And she has dealt with this very emotion herself. And I'm just going to say just a little bit of the general, and then she can elaborate much more in her introduction. You know, I think one of the most profound things about grief is it stems from a lack of direction, a lack of purpose. I think that's the root of a lot of things, especially when you lose someone, or it doesn't even have to be a person. You just lose the ability even to perform a job you love. That can be cause grief. And grief is, I will say, it's necessary. It's not something you just brush off. It's not a tantrum. It's not anger. It's something deep and it needs to be processed. And thank goodness there are healthy ways to do that. She went through a little bit of something like that, and she went through this very emotion. And I hope she's a certified expert by now, but we're going to find out with her introduction. Let's welcome Denise Dielwart. What do you want my listeners and audience who was watching this, what do you want them to know about you?
Well, hi, thank you. And thank you for giving me the opportunity because grief, as you said in your intro, is we're all going to go through grief. We all go through grief. I believe that right now, the whole world is grieving. We don't even know that we're grieving. We're grieving the loss of, prior to COVID. I'm in Australia. Australia was the most locked down country in the world during COVID. And we're grieving the loss of a previous life. So grief, as you said, is not just the loss of a loved one. Grief is an emotion that we all feel, but we don't necessarily recognize that we're grieving. So a little bit about me. I lost my husband in 2009 to a sudden blood clot. Before that, I had lost both my parents. They both passed away. I'm an only child. And so I didn't have anybody I could go to or any siblings that I could go to when my husband passed away. Yes, I had my children, but they were grieving as well. They just lost their father. And it was so sudden that there was no goodbyes, there was no I love yous, nothing. It was just gone. That was it, totally unexpected. He was only 55. So, I went to work and basically didn't come home. So that journey, that's where my journey began. That's where I went into complete la-la land. I didn't know whether I was up or whether I was down. I didn't know what had hit me. It was a journey that I had to take and I had to make, but I didn't want to make it. And we can't deny those grief feelings. We can't. Initially, we just numb. If any of your listeners have lost a loved one, you know that the initial stages, the initial part, it's not even a stage, but the first thing in grief is that the body shuts down. And we live in what I call la la land. We feel as though we're walking outside our body. We don't process. We can't process what's just happened. It's humanly impossible. And that's even if you've nursed somebody. I've worked with so many people that have nursed their loved ones through illness, through cancers, through COVID, through all sorts of things that have eventually died. And it's been a long, drawn-out process. And they think that they're ready for them to pass, but they're not, because death is final. It's final. You can't go back and say anything to that person.
Yeah. I mean, for those of you who are grieving, especially, or you know someone who's grieving, share this episode. I mean, besides just plugging it in, hope we got your attention, because this is for you. Trust me, I am not going to be talking about politics. I already talked about enough of that craziness. I have different episodes for that. No, this is going to be more of a somber, calm, maybe a little light humor. I cannot promise that, because at times, if I execute it wrong, it's going to seem toned down, and that criticism will be valid. So, yeah, I'll say one of the big things I see with a lot of grief is that once you lose someone that's very important, you're lost. Your sense of direction of life is gone. Especially if you don't deal with it, that temporary loss could turn permanent. And yeah, I mean, I felt that way. I mean, I went through grief when I lost my father at the age 15.
Yeah.
So I can relate. And I mean, our situations have some variables, but the general thing is similar: grief.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everybody processes it a bit differently, but there are stages to it.
Yeah.
And I'll let you explain that, because I'm still a bit of I'm a bit of a blockhead when it comes to that stuff. But yeah, your body does shut down, and it was weird. I said, why is my body shutting down? But,
and the worst thing that we can possibly do, and I only know this now because I did it, and a lot of my clients do it, is we go and see, we go to therapy. About six months into my husband passing away, my kids said to me, "Mum, you're getting Alzheimer's. Go and see the doctor." So I did. I went off and saw the doctor, who then sent me to a psychologist. And she started going through how I need to heal and how grief works and all the rest of it. And it was great, because I'd go and sit and have a chat to her. We'd have a cup of tea. We'd talk about how I was feeling. And then I'd leave her office, go home, and I was like, oh, I'm feeling just as bad. And I said to her one day, why am I not feeling any better? Why am I still feeling like this? And she said, Denise, you've just lost your husband. She said, you're going to be like this for the next 5 to 7 years. You've got to go through the stages of grief, and you've got to wait for time, because time heals all. And something inside of me snapped. And on the way home, I used some choice 4-letter words to my steering wheel about yelling and screaming that I was not going to stay in the States. There's no way that my husband, Martin, would have wanted me to stay like I am. And that switched my switch on. There has to be a better way. There has to be other ways to heal grief. I see so many people and say, oh, they'll just pray about it. I've got God, I've got my Bible, I'll just pray. You can't just pray your way out of grief. It's like that's magical thinking. And it's much as what I am. I do believe that there's a higher force, but we cannot just pray. We have to take action. It's like, please, please, Lord, help me. And I've said that many a time. Please, just help me. Just show me the way. I don't know what to do here. That's okay. But then when those signs come through, when you start getting that, oh, I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to go and do that, take action. You can't just, it always related to that parable about God sent the guy that was drowning in a flood, and he sent a boat, and he sent a helicopter, and he sent all sorts of things. And the guy eventually drowns, and he's up at the pearly gates, and he says, well, God, why didn't you save me? He said, what do you want me to do? I sent you a boat, a ladder, a helicopter. So it's really taking action. And grief is sometimes when we're grieving, and this is not for everybody, because some people just step in straight away and they heal, and they do the action, they seek the right help, and they move through their grief quickly. Others stay in that la-la land. Now, why do we stay? Why do they do that? Because and I know this is a word I've been criticized for so many times, is when we stay the victim of our grief, it's easier to stay the victim. Look at me, poor me. Didn't you know I lost, I'm a widow, which is a label. I'm a widow. Oh, I lost my child. Oh, I'm a widower. I lost my wife. I lost my father. And everybody goes, oh, I'm so sorry. So now you're getting validation again that you've experienced something really bad. So it's so much easier to stay there.
No, I know what you said is very, very profound. Yeah, you can't just pray it away. Like, for example, if I get angry, oh God, please get rid of my anger. Oh no, he's not doing that. He's not doing that. You need to find a way out to deal with that anger, and he'll guide you to. He'll guide you through it, right? It's just that it does require that big A word that sadly lazy people don't want to do. Action. Just want to magically go away. And we just pretend Denise is a bad person. She's making me upset, God. I'm praying for Denise to go away. Not gonna happen. Okay? So, well, at least not right away, but that's hypothetical. That's not reality. That's in a different reality where probably different universe or something where we're enemies instead of having this nice, wonderful conversation. Right? So, yeah, that is true. It's just profound. It requires action. And the real Christian people will say that same thing too. The ones that preach like it's mystical, magical, they're not real priests. Okay, I'm just gonna say that out right now. If it offends you, oh well. And let me just say a little bit about the victim mentality because it's very profound. Yeah, once you get that validation, it's addicting. It's addicting, that victim mentality. It's so addicting. It's a drug. And I was there. I mean, it took me 2 years to beat depression, because just like you, I got sick and tired of just going through this.
Yes.
This has to be a better way. I even attempted to commit suicide once, and then I had a big light bulb moment, and I was 1 step away to jump out of that roof of the building. I had my suicide plan set up close to perfection. My family didn't even know it, but I felt divine intervention. Long story short, there was a light bulb. I said, I can't be living like this forever. Just similar to you, it snapped like there has to be a better way. I can't be grieving like this for 10 years, so that's crazy. I could be probably like 30, 40 years old to still feel like this. No, and it's sad. There's a lot of people going through this in such a long term that is going to feel like forever. It's sadly for some people who, I'm going to say this word because I don't want to get demonetized, delete themselves. I'd say like that.
Yeah.
That's the end, and that's such a tragic end.
I work with people that have lost their loved ones to suicide. And to be honest, everybody says, "Oh, you such," so there's this cliche that everybody says, "Oh, suicide, you're weak, or you're not. You're actually very strong to suicide. To take your own life takes a lot of strength, but it's not the answer, because what are you leaving behind for your loved ones?"
one more thing I want to add. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This is a misconception a lot of people just have with suicide. Oh, they want to end their own life. No, they want to end the pain and the suffering.
That's right.
The sad part is life is included in that package. And there's just no way to separate that. I'm sorry, continue.
I was going to say that as well. Is that when we're in pain, we want to end that pain. It's a human behavior. We want to end that pain, right? I'm really feeling sad, especially when you lose a loved one. Your whole world is rocked. Your whole world is rocked. It's not expected. Suddenly your life is going in a completely different direction. So so you've been planted in another place, in another universe suddenly. And depression and victimhood, and it's not fair, and we play that moment in time over and over and over when they died. If only I could have, I should have. I had tremendous guilt because I wasn't with my husband when he died. He was he was in the hospital. He was coming home. He wasn't going to die. I got a call to say he's dead. He's gone. Just a phone call. Hello, I said, Mrs. Dielwart, this is the hospital. Your husband didn't make it. What do you mean he didn't make it? That was the call I got at 11 o'clock at night. So immediately you're transported into another world, total another world. But we don't realize the consequences of us not moving forward. If we remain stuck in that grief, and I've seen it with so many people, they get stuck in that grief for 10, 15, 20 years. I'm thinking of one of my clients who lost her husband. And when we started working together, it was 15 years since he had passed away. Now, if that cliche time heals all worked, she would have been okay after 15 years, surely you would think, right? On our first call, she just burst into tears. She couldn't talk to me. She was still so emotional. But in the meantime, during that 15 years, she had contracted and created cancer. She had cancer. She couldn't work anymore. She put on excessive weight. She was in a wheelchair. She had aides working with her. That's what grief does. It shuts down the body. So we have to take action straight away. As hard as what it is. And what stops us, what stops all of us, is the guilt of leaving them behind.
Listeners, and viewers, I really hope you're paying attention. This is a more serious, but I think a valuable episode for you. Because, I think we need to hear more of these things more than ever. And look, it's ironic. I'm a guy host who's talking about grief, who's promoting grief. And the reason why I'm using that gender is because men, we talked about this a little early before we got on air, men have a funny relationship with emotions. A lot of them are they're least likely to get this kind of help compared to their female counterpart.
Yeah.
And if you check a website, you can see a lot of women's, because women are just more likely, they are more comfortable with trying to talk to others and express these vulnerable emotions. So us guys, we usually being stoic, not showing emotion, is the best way to go forward, and that will eventually cripple us.
It does.
So
Men let men grieve silently, inwardly. Women will, not all women, but mostly women will cry and they'll wail and they'll have emotional outbursts, and whereas men just shut down. They just shut up. How are you? I'm fine. I'm okay. I've got to go to work. They keep busy. They busy themselves with stuff so that they don't actually face those emotions. They don't feel them. I don't want to feel those emotions. I'm fine. What comes out of that is depression. Depression and worthlessness, and in a case of where a family loses a child, if the parents, the mother and the father, don't get the right help, that whole family falls apart. And you see it all the time. You see it all the time. Because the mother's expressing her grief in the way she's doing it. And she's looking at the father and she's saying to the father, you don't get me. You don't understand. You don't care. You're just going to work. And the father's thinking to himself, because he can't express himself. Men have never been taught to be emotional or to express yourselves. Like it or not, that's just the way it is. I see it with my son. He bottles up so much. All men bottle up. You bottle up, till you explode. Till you explode. Then they go, what happened? Because you haven't expressed your emotions. You haven't felt them. So what that does is then he goes off to work. He keeps busy, da-di-da-di-da. He's got the wife there that's crying and wailing. He doesn't know what to do with her. What do I do with you? I don't know how to handle you. And then you've got the other children that are watching this going, what happened? We lost my brother or we lost my sister now. I'm grieving. Where do I fit into this equation? So it's so important to get the right help and to do the inner work on yourself to become that new person without your loved one.
Yeah. I mean, look. Yeah, I mean, there are certain guys, I would say they are the exceptions to the rule. Me as a teenager, I dealt with both. I tried to bottle up and then it exploded with tears. And then I was ashamed those tears came out. And then I went back to bottling. I mean, I'm
Yep.
sure a lot of you guys could relate. Maybe certain of you women too, who was, raised in a more masculine, dominant environment. But yeah, I mean, eventually they're gonna have to be processed one way or another.
Yeah.
And bottling them up and just keep feeding them is just not the way. So anything else you want to add before we talk about your academy?
I just wanted to quickly just say we need to feel. We really need to feel, and that's my flow method. So we'll go into that a little bit more. But we need to feel. If we don't feel our emotions, we can't heal them.
Yeah. I know that's tough, especially for us guys, but we got to do that one way or another. Maybe not as expressive, maybe not as loud as a woman, maybe a little tear, maybe go nice and slow. I don't know. You listen to Denise here. You can ignore this host if you want. I'm certainly not an expert, but that's why I have guests here because they help expand my horizons. They unintentionally, because I don't tell them, my blind spots. Okay, and I'm willing to grow. I'm willing to let the ego be put in its place. Okay, if you want to go by ego, go right ahead. Just know that's going to be a very destructive outcome.
Yeah.
Hey, you've been warned. You've been warned. And let's see. So that's what I want to say about that. Now, about this lovely Flow Grief Academy.
Yep.
Now, my first question is I always ask this one. What makes this one so different from others that
Because
deals with similar work?
because my unique flow method is my method that I created that works within weeks. It works within weeks. Flow is an acronym for feel, let go, overcome, and become whole. So we have to feel. When we feel our emotions, now feeling is not just, oh, I'm feeling sad today. Oh, what did I do? Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, today's our anniversary. Oh, I've heard a song. And then bursting in. That's not feeling. That's acknowledging. Feeling is going beneath that. So we go way beneath that. What are you feeling? Where did it trigger? How did it trigger? So you learn how to actually feel that. What emotion am I feeling? What triggered it? And then the letting go is the letting go of that emotion. Okay, now we know what it is. We can now let go of that emotion. It's not letting go of the love or the memories or anything like that. It is letting go of that heartache, that emotion, that that deep-seated emotion that's keeping you stuck. You don't even know that you're feeling that's the cause. We go beneath, we go right deep down into you and say, what is it? Where did that come from? And 9 times out of 10, it's a belief that we've had all our life that we run on a subconscious level. We don't even realize that it's there.
Yeah. I like that flow. It's easy, it's memorable, and and I'm just gonna just attack myself for a second. I used to think even like the most complicated, unique approaches are the best. But no, something memorable, catchy, people will be able to memorize that. Unless those who has English as a second language, even they could learn that too. It's gonna take just probably a bit longer because they're used to the other language. But even they could get it. Even ESOL, English as a second language, people could get that. It's that simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. So
Yeah.
I like that, and flow, and that's the name of the academy as well. You put that as a name, so
it's the Flow, Grief Release Academy. You're releasing your grief. Now, with so much grief in the world at the moment, worldwide, here I am in Australia. You're in New York. I'm in Queensland. The world has become so small. I work with people all over the world. So do my certified practitioners. I've had people reaching out to me. How can we do what you're doing? Teach us your flow method. I want to help. I've healed myself in my grief. I want to help others now. And so I created and I started the certification program so that you learn and you become certified in my flow method, and you become a certified practitioner that can go out and help others.
So you're not just having a business, you're even starting a movement in a way, a global movement.
Yeah, I see it that way because for me, I am so I feel as though it's my calling. I really do. I was never going to work in grief ever. This was not what I was going to do. And then I kept getting this little tap, you need to work in grief, you need to work in grief. And I think, shut up. I'm not working in grief. And to the minister, I went, okay, I'll work in grief, show me the way. And it's just evolved through there. Started small, it's getting bigger. And then the academy was born because people came to me. I didn't they kept saying, we want to do what you're doing. How do I talk to somebody that's grieving? How do I help my sister? How do I help people in church? What do I say? Because the narrative, unfortunately, has been used since the 1960s. The 5 stages of grief. If I can say to anybody listening now, ditch the 5 stages of grief. The 5 stages of grief was created by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross for people that were diagnosed with a terminal illness, not people that had lost a loved one, but for people that were dying. And those were the stages that they went through. The denial, the anger, the whatever it is. I don't even focus on them, so I don't even know what they are offhand. Just before her death, she actually apologized that it had been taken up as the gold standard because it was never intended for people that had lost a loved one. But everybody still go through the 5 stages. Oh, you're in anger now. Oh, you're in this stage. You're in that stage. You're just grieving. It keeps you stuck because you think, oh, I haven't gone through anger yet. Oh, why am I not feeling angry? I've had so many of my clients, when we start working together, say to me, Denise, I've never felt angry. Is that wrong? So it's putting labels on those stages. You cannot go through stages of grief. You really can't.
Now, I would like to add, I just put up what was the 5 stages of grief. Don't worry, I don't know anything. I'm just checking on the internet. So I'm using the cheat sheet right now, okay? Just to give very brief context, because I actually do agree with you. I was going to go through them real quick. 5 stages of grief. according to the Kubler-Ross model, is denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. I believe a lot of people go through denial. I believe a lot of people, some people go, I believe some people will go through anger. Some are just too graceful for anger. So, and the way that it's just set up, it's so lenient, right? It doesn't address the unique human processes of emotion. Some people just jump straight to anger. Forget denial. Like, why the heck did I lose? It's so unfair.
Yeah.
They,
I hate God. I hate the world. I hate
yeah,
everybody.
you know,
Okay. It's
I
it.
went to anger. I didn't go to denial. I went to anger real quick. I went expressly to anger. Pretty accept the fact that my thought was going to die. So
If you take that in the context of somebody dying that has been diagnosed with a terminal illness, what is their first thing they're going to go? No, this is not true. They're in denial. No, this is not true. Whereas with when you lose somebody, you're in la la land, which is disbelief. Did this just happen to me? Huh? What's happening in my life now? And then you can get angry, but you get angry. Not everybody gets angry. So what that linear process does is and therapists, psychologists, everybody is trained in that. Nurses, doctors, everybody around the world. It's become the gold standard. And this is where I rock the boat. I really rock the boat here because I say don't wait for time and don't go through the 5 stages of grief.
like I said, everybody has a unique journey. Everybody processes things very differently. And this unintentionally, I'm going to say something out of my rocking the boat too. This can potentially discriminate neurodivergent people.
Yeah.
So the fact that we're just saying it's a gold standard, yeah, I guess it's okay if the person goes through all that. I'm not entirely against it, but putting that as a one size fits all, no, I went straight to stage 2. I was already accepting that fact. I was just so angry at God I took it out on the world because it was a victim mentality. And then bargaining, I didn't even bother. That went straight to stage 4, and that's the one I stood for a very, very long time. So I skipped 1 and 3. I stood on 4 for the longest. And then finally I have acceptance when I started to just I accept my emotions really and growth and the lessons from that hardship. That's what I really accepted really. Then I was able to move on. It took me 2 years. And some people are just shocked by that. They don't believe that. They think some people think I'm lying. Some people are just shocked. Because some people just think of depression and grief as this lifelong thing. No, it's not supposed to be. There's a time for it, yes, but it's not supposed to be. I know you want to add up. Feel free. You're the expert here. I want to hear you.
What I've seen throughout my 15 years of doing this work now is that when I see clients come to me, some of them are so ready. I have some clients. I had a widow that 2 weeks after her husband died, she booked her appointment for me and she said, Denise, I have to heal my grief because she found out that he was having an affair. And all the money that he had and they had that he had showed her that he had was not there. It was non-existent. He was lying to her. And she was so angry at him for lying. Not angry that he had left her, but angry at him. And she said, it's only been 2 weeks since he's passed away. I've in remission of breast cancer. I know that if I hang on to this anger, it's going to trigger my breast cancer again. I need to heal. So 2 weeks, my initial program to heal, and I work with people, not the academy side. The academy is a lot longer, but the initial program is only 8 weeks. And by the end of that 8 weeks, she was a different person. She had forgiven him. She said, I have to forgive him to grieve. She said, because I loved him before I knew all this other stuff. But I can't grieve while I'm feeling this anger with me. So she had anger, but she had a reason to be angry. But she also had the knowledge to know not to hang on to that anger because it would cause her damage.
Yeah, no, I understand how she feels. I mean, Carl just found out the love of your life was he had just to put it nicely, second option.
Yeah.
I mean, she was treated like an option, which I'm just gonna say like that without
Yeah.
going to the gross and the very adulterated stuff. Since you're keeping it clean, I'm keeping it clean as well. That's how I match. You swear, I swear. That's how I go. I match. But since you're keeping it graceful and clean, I could do the same as well. I have different modes of communication. And and I do attract, more refined people. I mean by refined, it's like 35 plus, professional and all that. They're not gonna hear me talk like I'm in the bar or something, just saying all kinds of dirty, crass jokes that mostly either tough women and guys will enjoy. All right. So I says, I know this, that's my audience. I'm getting more clear data. There's certain modifications I need to do. Okay. Because nine one's in for the controversial rocking the boat version of Elias. Some of them want the more clean fun and some wants the more understanding, somber. Even though I try to throw in some light humor stuff here and there. That's my core. I accept it, deal with it. It keeps me sane. And so far, I like to keep my guests happy and hope they have fun with this conversation too. That's another thing. It's not just for the audience, even for the guests as well. Because look, guests is an important part of this show. I mean, my first 2 years, I didn't have guests at all. So just me running this thing, and then by the time it started growing a little big, so people said, I want to be on your show, want to be on your show. And I found a solution to it, and there you go. Got a guest.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
I'm saying this, because it's good to have a network on who you can trust. Not just anybody. I get it. Emotions are precious to you, especially guys. Those who got your trust. Talk with those and deal with some internal stuff as well. The only thing I always go back to is meditation.
Oh,
Meditation.
yeah.
And find your own unique way through the meditation. If you want to learn through the basics of whatever school there is, fine. But as long as it's compatible with you, go for it. That's my last advice, because I do not want to take over this guest's role of expertise. I'm just more like a buffer, a sidekick in a sense, just stuffing the main star here. So that that's all I'm going to say about that. Um, yeah. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah. Yeah. With meditation, so many people are not used to meditating. We're not taught to meditate. Okay. We are not taught to meditate. Now, what's the difference between prayer and meditation? Prayer is when you're asking God for advice. Meditation is when He's giving you the advice. So you can be meditating anywhere. You can go and sit on a park bench and just watch people. It's meditation. You don't have to do a formal, I'm sitting here and I'm meditating. It doesn't, then your mind goes and then you can't meditate and then you're thinking about all this stuff that's happening and you're thinking about your shopping list and stuff that you've never thought of before and then they go, I can't meditate. Meditation is just sitting quietly somewhere. If you want to do guided meditation, there's heaps on YouTube. Just do it. Just fall asleep with a YouTube guided meditation if that's what you want to do, if that's all you can do. But meditation stills the mind, takes all that chatter out. Because we have our monkey brain just goes constantly. Our monkey brain doesn't ever stop. Now, when we're grieving, it's on overdrive. Because we have now an extra layer of grief, of not being able to make sense of our world. So the monkey brain goes into soldier action and it says, right, I'm here, I'm going to tell you what to do. And it's all the time. So eventually we burn out. We just burn out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, burning now has accelerated. So many studies have shown that it has increased exponentially.
Yeah.
Because there's just not enough people are doing meditation. I love that distinction. Yeah, prayer is the human is the communicator. We all wants a request. While God and during meditation, He's the communicator. You're the receiver.
Yeah.
So I think that's the most easy, beautiful, practical way of saying it. I could not have said it better.
Yeah.
So that's very good. I really hope you're getting this, listeners. Oh, I am just feeling better. I had a pretty dull day, but the fact that I am hearing this is actually just lightens my heart. My heart actually feels lighter. So, I'm not just saying that just to act, but this has been really, really, really good, and let's see. Let's do the plug-in. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to forget that lovely plug-in. So, listeners, now this is why I'm your boss and I tell you what to do from here. Go to Flow Grief Academy. I command it. I'll have the link in the description. All right. Yeah, go to www.flowgriefacademy.com. If you want to schedule a session where it's /talk. www.flowgriefacademy.com/talk. Okay. You can follow her on her social medias as well. She has a Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and a TikTok. Okay, so if you want to have a more in-depth conversation, so go there. Is there anything else you want to add before I wrap this up?
No, just a very quick to add to the meditation, and is to do a gratitude diary, gratitude journal. Be grateful. What are you grateful for? And I know that in grief people say, I'm not grateful for anything because it's not fair. Yes, you are grateful. You woke up in the morning. What else
You're just
am I
grateful to be
grateful?
alive. That's
Yes.
the most basic one. I'm
There's a
sorry, I had to say that.
there's a gratitude there. What else are you grateful? If you can find just five things every day to be grateful for, your life will change. You'll start seeing, you'll lighten up, you'll go, oh my goodness, life is not that bad. So yeah. And to anybody listening, book a call with me. It's a free call. Go to my website. All the links will be below. We spend 45 minutes to an hour together. That's my gift to you, to see where you're at, what you're struggling with, and give you some help, give you some support.
Oh, she's friendly. She's definitely someone you could touch. You could, oh my goodness, touch. I can't even speak now. Talk to, reach out, and communicate, especially going through difficult emotions, especially grief. You're grieving one way or another.
Yeah.
Grief has been increasing, and of course, burnout and all of that. And a lot of these things are interconnected.
Yeah.
So schedule a call with her, especially going through that emotion. Okay. Just go there, talk to her, and that's a pretty generous gift. Some people only give you like 10, 15 minutes or something, not at all. You got to pay me. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's just keep that in context before you start putting, I'll say, nonsensical comments if I'm going to be a little nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, if you want to become a practitioner, if you want to become a flow grief release practitioner, if you feel and you've heard, you're listening to this and going, I would actually like to help others. Let's use the same link, and we can talk about that as well.
Yep. So that makes it different. Well, she wants those to help spread her method in helping others around the world, not just I keep it to myself. No, this is a movement in a lot of ways. This is a global movement.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
because if you got a website, you can easily reach the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're grieving or want to help, you know what to do. The links and the social medias will be in the description, especially when it comes to follow Denise Dielwart. Yeah, that section right there, middle section, you're going to see all those links. Okay?
Wonderful.
Yeah. So, oh, I'm sorry. You want to add anything else before I wrap this up?
Oh, I was just going to say thank you so much for having me here.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. It's been my pleasure. So, from wherever or whenever you listen to this podcast, you have a blessed day, afternoon, or night.